Hello, Shukri. Do you have an 11 for us?
Hello, it's Alfred. Yes, I have. Would you like to hear it?
Yes, please.
The 11 in batting order will be Alga, Markram, Dezorzi, Bavuma, Rickelton, yes, Rickelton, 5, Klaassen 6, Vian Mulder at 7, Simon Harmer at 8, Keshav Maharaj at 9, Gerald Kutsia at 10, and Kagiso Rabada at 11.
Shooks, it seems Keegan Peterson's not in that 11. Could you tell us a little bit just about how he's progressing and maybe what you thought of him at 5 and sort of what's the next steps for him as a test cricketer?
As you would rightly say, he's not in there. I still think his best position might be 5 going forward in terms of the way he plays. But again, this test batting unit is still a work in progress. So, but hopefully by design and not stumbling on something, we're gonna get the right mix. So I still feel going forward, Keegan's got a bigger role to play in the middle order rather than at the top order. Rickleton deserves his crack at it. As everybody knows, he's been churning it out. We went with Keegan in the first test simply because he was the incumbent. And again, him being left out is not on the back of 2, shall we say, non-scoring performances rather than poor performances. As you might notice also that everybody in the squad has now got a run. And by I mean run, I mean an opportunity to play.
Were you happy with the brand of cricket that was played in the last game, and where do you think there should be improvements in this team?
Yeah, this brand of cricket has been bandied about quite a bit because there's a lot of talk of how we want to play our game. And it will often play itself out in the batting department. And again, it's no secret that we weren't particularly good at Centurion. Yes, we got away with a good result, but if the truth be told, we weren't particularly good. The West Indies were good, and the wicket was tough, but doesn't then mean that we just roll over as we did the other day and have done in the past. So, yeah, unique set of circumstances. We don't play a lot of Test cricket, and that's been well documented. So I've got to find novel ways of finding out a little bit more about these guys. So if it then plays itself out in giving everybody a go and see how they react, and then hopefully through the year we create other opportunities, then so be it. But that brand will take a bit longer on the batting front, and I think on the bowling front the brand was great because we played our 4 quicks and we showed what we are about there. I think there's just a little bit of patience required in terms of the batting side, yeah.
We're going to go Stu, then Keith.
Thanks, Shukri, oftentimes I wonder is the debate has been play the spin or not play the spin, and I got 2. What about the conditions suggested to you that Simon and Keshav?
Yeah, I think what's his name, Frosty's done a good job of covering the massive bare patch there. So optics is a big thing. It looks okay, but I think, and history would suggest in the last year that the spinners do come into the game here, right? And if and again, the game doesn't have to end on day 3. A test match is meant to go to day 5. And if it goes to days 4 and 5, I do think our spinners will come into it in a big way. So hopefully we can get enough runs, and then on days 4 and 5, our spinners can really come into it, which I think it looks quite an abrasive surface. The one end will probably be a lot more seamer friendly than the other end, we think. And we've got a lot of IP in the change room. KG, Temba play their cricket here, and Neil Mack's been here over all the years. I had a stint here many moons ago. So yeah, we feel that the wicket at some stage will offer quite a bit for the spinners.
Hi, Shukri. In a funny sort of counterintuitive way, from what you've said, doesn't mean that the fact that you play less Test cricket than most teams mean that you're going to change your side a bit more in order to see what these guys are about.
No, look, I mean, this is also not just changing the side for the sake of changing a side. I think we all know that Anna's been ruled out. I also think that Marco deserves a little bit of a break. I mean, that lanky body of his has been through the mill the last couple of months, and we also need to look after what lie ahead, you know, in the next couple of months for these guys. So I think Marco can do with a good break. So it's not just changing for the sake of changing, Ken. You then rest Marco and you set out to play the two spinners, and you look and you say, well, everybody's got a crack at it, but the one oak that probably deserves a crack more than anyone hasn't had a crack at it yet, i.e. Ryan. So it was a simple choice there. But no, Ken, it's not a case of every time we play, because we play so few, we're going to change the sides. We've got a really good idea of what the guys are about. Yeah, for me, it's come the end of the year when India arrive at our shores, we want to have a settled unit going forward. And not a settled 11, a settled squad, so that we can, depending on what the conditions are, we can be quite fluid in our decision making.
Shukri, what will you be doing after this test for the next 7-8 months?
That is a hell of a question. Look, we're obviously looking for content for possibly an A side that I'll also look after. And a lot of these younger guys would probably form a part of that A side again in terms of their development. So for me, it's looking after the next crop of batters. And the next crop, a couple of them are already in this group. And also there are a few guys domestically that have done particularly well. Looking after the next crop of quick bowlers, so that we continually can afford guys an opportunity to rest when their bodies have had enough. So that would be the first step, Dennis, is to find content for the A side. I'm very optimistic that something will crop up in the next couple of months, hopefully around June, July. So yeah. But for starters, I'll be going home and just chilling for a bit. Obviously, Rob and I'm a bit of a sounding board for Rob as well with regards to a lot of the guys. And yeah, and then hopefully start preparing in earnest for an A tour. Also look at our emerging program again. I'll continually be involved there together with whoever the coaches are there. So I'll be keeping busy in that respect, yes.
Yeah, so just to follow up from that, I mean, this is obviously the last match of a one-test championship cycle, and then you start again. Can you just talk a bit about like the strategy behind how you approach these 2-year blocks of playing test cricket? Because there's such a big break, sounds like you've got some stuff you want to do, but how do you plan ahead for the next cycle?
Yeah, the planning is the critical here for me, if it does. So yeah, the next cycle is, and I'm not making light of this series in any way. I think it's a great opportunity for me to see where the guys are at. But yeah, so we've got India come the end of the year. We want to have a settled squad by then, as I mentioned. So the winter is going to be critical, and then start earmarking potentially who the guys are. We're going to look to take to New Zealand. We've got a tour to the West Indies, and then Pakistan and Sri Lanka come here. So we're quite busy next year, which is great. So yeah, look, ultimately we want to be reaching Test Championship finals, and I think these are the building blocks in ensuring that we can launch a really good onslaught on that championship. We might be a little bit away on the batting front, and that's no secret. But I also don't think that we are a million miles away. I think we've got the personnel. It's really just how we ensure that they get the necessary experience, and that's where the winter programs are going to be important for us.
So after the first test, obviously Themba getting a pair, what sort of conversations do you have with him to make sure that he's ready for this next test?
Would the same question have been asked if it was someone else?
Yes.
I don't know why. Players get pairs. And I'd hate to think it's because it's Themba and because of the spotlight that's been on Themba over the last couple of months. And in his first test, he gets a pair. He's got 2 good nuts, maybe 1 tactical mistake in terms of where he lined up to a certain bowler. There's no deep conversation. Batters get pairs. They've got to move on. They've got to deal with it. Doesn't make him special or otherwise. And I don't think, I can tell you now, there's been no special conversation around that. Got to get up and deal and find a way.
Shukri, especially with the gap in test matches, what are the chats with a guy like Dean, for example, who is still a key member of the side, but also at some point with the gap in test matches, the longevity of a career then starts to be a question that will be posed?
Yes. In fact, we had that conversation as recently as yesterday again. So, yes, it's really just, we're going to have to obviously see how Dean's winter looks like. Hopefully he can find a gig in the county scene that will keep him ticking over. And then come the start of next season, see where everyone's at, not only Dean. And ultimately, if we feel that, irrespective of the age or experience, if the player is good enough and still performing, then he'll still form part of our squad, you know. But it's a real question, and it's a real concern for guys like Dean who don't get to showcase their talents as much as some of the other guys do. We'll have to just wait and see how that pans out, Kanyeso.
Also, we're going to go tennis, Ken, and then back to those.
Shukri, you spoke a lot about when I can't remember when it was, but you spoke about Aiden and you being one of the guys that fully backs him, and then he comes out and scores a century in his first game. Have you guys sort of developed a relationship, and do you feel that he's really reacting positively to the sort of chats you're having, or is it just that you always knew he could do that and he went out and showed it?
Yeah, Aiden and my chats are very minimal. We hardly chat. We're just checking with each other if everyone's okay, like I do with any other player. Yeah, I think any player, when he gets backed and he knows that he's got the backing of a coach or an environment, just sometimes it's easier to perform, but sometimes it can also weigh heavily, you know. And I think there are one or two other guys where I think they might be in that place where sometimes a player feels he needs to repay the faith that the coach shows in him, and that can also be debilitating. And I don't ever want it to reach that stage. But on Aiden's front, look, Aiden's a hell of a player. We always knew that. He just goes about his business as he did absolutely nothing different in the first test, in his prep, as he would now. We haven't had any major conversations, just like we didn't have now. I think it's just that sense of knowing, and if there is a need to have a convo, we do.
Thanks, Ken.
Shukri, I wanted to ask about Aiden as well, but Aiden's one of the brave calls you made before the test series. You made run Klaasen, you made, in terms of selection at Centurion, people would say that was a brave call, and now at the Wanderers you're playing two spinners, which I think unless people have seen the pitch the last sort of few weeks, people will think you're crazy. But do you think as a coach, brave decisions is a sort of part and parcel of who you are? You're that guy who's willing to go out on a limb and back what you believe.
Yeah, thankfully Aiden got runs, or else it wouldn't have been brave, it would have been daft. And classy selection, people might be jumping up and down saying, well, that's daft because the guy he replaced was one of the leading lights. I don't think I go out and set to do certain things in a brave way. I think I'd like to think I am a guy that thinks things through carefully, but I'm always going to look to maybe, shall we say, take the road less traveled, and that's where I'd like this side to go. You know, just put them in places that are uncomfortable, challenge them in ways that they might not have been challenged before, and see how we come out on the other side. And it's the growth I'm looking for, and I've got to be patient with it, and hence we do certain things like this, Ken. But again, no, I don't go. I like brave. I don't like different. So yeah, if it's brave, I'm happy to wear that cap. Because sometimes we can be different just for wanting to be different as well. I'd like to think that the decision to play 2 spinners here is a well thought out one.
Cool, and we'll wrap with
Shukri, can I just ask you a bit about West Indies and kind of what them and yourselves are saying about the future of Test cricket? You know, they're in a similar position in terms of lack of games and the talent they've got. What do you think you and them are sending as a message to the cricketing world about Test cricket, and where do you think they stand compared to you guys?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I don't know what messages we can still be sending, but I think our and their proud traditions and heritage should be ample proof that we need to be playing more Test cricket. We cannot be excluded on the basis of not being a leading light in Test cricket. We are, and so are the West Indies. And the sad reality is that in a place like the West Indies, and hopefully not here, the lack of Test cricket, or the lack of the international or the national side playing in the Test arena might mean that interest starts waning, you know, and that's a place you never want to reach, because once a youngster doesn't have that burning ambition and desire to play for his country, then that spells the beginning of the end. So hopefully both sides can, when they do play and when we next play, can put in performances that make people sit up and say, well, we need to have both South Africa and the West Indies as part of the nations that need to be playing a lot more Test cricket.
Cool. Kanisa is officially the last question.
Just back to the right selection in particular.
I beg your pardon, I didn't hear that.
Back to the right selection in particular. Is it also informed by the fact that here at the Wanderers in particular, he's also found ways to make runs on a variety of surfaces? Was I just went through some stats quickly, especially when spin dominated. He also made runs in those particular matches. Like the one that comes to mind was when Keshav took 16, he made 194 at this very same ground.
Yes, that does play a part. I think one takes all of these things into account, you know. I just think that when it comes to you want to be consistent with selections, you want to reward good performances. But last time I checked, we could only fit 11 players in, you know, and similarly, we can only fit 7 batters in, seeing that I'm old-fashioned and I'm surprised that hasn't popped up yet. But yeah, and sometimes it just takes a bit longer for people to get that opportunity. He's definitely one that's going to be a big part of the side going forward. That's not a brave call, Ken. That's just me saying that I'd like to think he's going to be one of those guys through performances at domestic level, knowing the character he is someone that we can start building our Test side around, you know. So, yes, opportunity didn't come first up, and it's not a once-off opportunity. I think he's going to have a long, successful run in the side.